welcome, or welcome back to 4F Beauty. When will I be YouTube famous? I don't know. To be honest, not sure I want to be YouTube famous. There's way too much pressure on you once you get huge. And people doubt what you tell them. Whereas, you know, my small 4F family, but ever-growing 4F family, hopefully you've all seen the Can You Trust Me film, and you know that you can actually trust what I say, because I'm not going to tell you to buy something that I wouldn't put on my face myself, basically. And you do get complete honesty from me, which is probably why so many brands do not want to add me to their PR list. Not that I've got any PR lists anyway. Well, I've got GC, I've got Gerard Cosmetics. Every so often they'll put a store credit on for me, which is lovely. I tend to stock up on Slay All Days and Lippies from them, because I love both those. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is one of my purchases from the Brexit broke my low buy. I have already done one film with one of the palettes from that particular film. This is the second palette from my broken low buy purchase. It's another Essence palette. It's another one of their destination palettes. This one is palette number 3. Hello, New York. Immerse yourself in the high-paced vibe of the city that never sleeps. A selection of 9 highly pigmented eyeshadows, a mix of urban colours fitting the streets of New York, including holographic shades with a prismatic finish. They are not holographic. They are duochrome, but they are not holographic. This is holographic. The shades inside are not. However, if you want to see exactly how this palette performs and how I created this particular eye look, then my friend, you are in precisely the right place. Here it comes. Hey, welcome back from the intro. Okay, I think I will have shown you this in the intro. I'm sure I said that when I was filming the Salut Paris one, and then decided not to show you the palette in the intro. So hopefully I will have shown you this palette in the intro. This is another one of my buy it before Brexit buggers up purchasing from the EU. I'm pretty sure the Salut Paris video will be up before this one, because I'm going to try and keep them in order this time. And I don't always manage that, but I'm going to try. This is the Hello New York with the holographic Fifth Avenue sign on the front. As with the other one, it's a 9-pan palette and it has a reasonably nice mirror in it. But what I do like about it is it's one of these ones where you can fold it back without it feeling like you're going to crack the spine on it, you know. So this is great for me, because then I can show you this without having to worry about you seeing yourself in the mirror, or if the sun's out, which it really isn't right now, dazzling you. But yeah, this is the one that I really wanted. This is my colour scheme, and Jeffrey's doing the blue blood sugar, or the blue version of the blood sugar palette called Blue Blooded. So I'm like, I've already asked hubby to get me that for my birthday. But this is definitely more my kind of colours, as I'm pretty sure you can all imagine. If you've watched any of my films, you will know this. I did learn from the previous palette that this works best on a sticky base. So once again, face is washed, moisturised, SPF'd, primed, and all I've got on my eyes at the moment is this MAC Soft Ochre paint pot, which I put on basically halfway up and then blend out because it is yellow toned and I am neutral or cool. Right, I have swatched this. I will put the swatches up on screen while I zoom you in. There are no names, but basically I go like, top row, bottom row, and I'm going to be very up close and personal when I take the swatches back off again. While I'm zooming in, I will have a little chat with you about the housekeeping for this channel, for those of you who have not watched me before. Right, my channel is aimed at all skill levels, from complete beginners who've never picked up a brush before to absolute experts. That being said, I zoom right in. I talk you through each step, step by step by step. I do both eyes on camera. I talk you through the first eye slowly and then go through the second eye at the normal kind of speed that I would normally do my makeup at. But chronic pain does mean that I very often blend a lot slower than a lot of people do. So, if that's likely to wind you up because you are not a beginner, then by all means, speed me up. There is a speed widget on YouTube, and I really will not be offended if you decide to use it. Right, back to me. Hello. I think I'm going to have to get a new tripod at some point because this kind of doesn't feel as stable as it used to. Right, when I look straight ahead, you can see, although I'm very tired today, so you're not seeing much of it, but you can see all of my mobile lid from inner corner to outer corner. So I don't have hooded lids. What I do have is deep set eyes. If you don't see all of your mobile lid, you've either got a full or a half hooded lid, or what's known as a mono or an Asian eye. I'm blind in this eye, so if I cover up the mobile lid this side and then close my eye, you can see I've got as much mobile lid again that folds back in. So I do understand the issues that people with hooded lids have, because I get that. I get transference of shimmers onto the upper lid. When I'm cutting my lid, I can't just follow the shape of my eyeball and have a really pretty one. I always have to cut it in a weird shape. And glitters, even with glitter glues, will crack where the lid rubs together. So, you can still follow my tutorial. If you get yourself either a flat top brush or... Wow, okay, I really need to give that one a better clean, don't I? Look at that. Get yourself a flat top brush. With your eye open, just sketch out where you're going to need your crease to fall. So basically, imagine you couldn't see my mobile lid. I would then do it just up here like this. And then when I go in with a brush like this, you just need to go in with a slightly more tapered brush, because whatever the brush width at the head of the brush, that's how far it's going to blend out on your eye. So if I grab one of my Coastal Scent, this is one of the animal brushes that I've got linked in my Which Brushes Do I Recommend video. This is from Coastal Scents and it comes right up to a point. So when I'm using one like this, just go for one like that. And if I'm using a really big fluffy brush, like my Luxie one here, then you need to use one more like this. Okay? Sorry about that phone call. Right, let's get round to putting some of this on my face. I'm going to start off, I'm going to use, actually I might use my Royal & Langnickel's today. Haven't used them for a little while. I'm going to go in with my Royal & Langnickel Chic Pro eyeshadow brush. Okay. And I am going to pick up, I think I'm going to go in with shadow number 8, which is the deep grey, or the deepest grey, I should say. Just tap off into my colour switch, Vibro Fog. Right, if you've had to draw sketch a little line out, follow your line. If not, if you're like me, just with your eye open, just mark out, because I want the darker colour to really be seen, rather than it being back in my crease this time. So I'm just popping that on to get the shape. As you can see, yes, some's gone onto my lid. I'm really not worried about that. I can deal with that later. Right, packing some more pigment onto my brush, and obviously because this is not a set base, I'm just going to tap and gently move the brush along to lay this pigment down. As I said, the palette from yesterday worked much better on a set base, and as this is obviously the same family of palettes, because they've got quite a few destination ones, they've got a Sydney one, and I can't remember what the other ones were now, but I know they've got 4 of them at the moment. This is palette number 3, the New York. So once I've tapped that into place, I'm just going to very gently buff along, because obviously we've now set the eyeshadow base that this is on with this colour. So I'm just going to gently blend it so that we don't get any patchiness along there. Yeah, as I was saying, it's obviously the same family of palettes, so I was guessing that the formula was going to be the same. Some palettes you can use on a set base, others you do need to use on a sticky base to get the kind of colour from it that you want. I'm glad this is a deeper palette. The Salou Paris, I didn't realise when I ordered it, because it didn't look as light as it is in the pictures online, but it is actually quite a pastel palette. So that definitely had to go onto a set base to be seen. Alright, so as you can see, I'm just doing the same on the other eye, marking out and then coming back in with the pigment. And just gently tapping, moving the brush along to disperse the pigment around. Keep checking you've got the same shape, which you have, because obviously your eyes are 2 different shapes anyway for most people. Unless you're a model, it's very unlikely you're going to have absolutely symmetrical features. So yeah, just going to give this a little bit of a buff, just to make sure we've got nice smoothness here and we've not got any sort of loose, clumpy, pigmenty bits, which can happen. When you're putting it onto a set base, you can suddenly find a chunk of pigment that just decides halfway through the day it's going to fall down your face, and then you end up with multicoloured freckles. Which, if that's your go-to, then awesome. But if not always helpful. I've actually gone back to using a washcloth to clean the brushes with, even though I've got a new colour switch sponge. I just find it cleans the colour more effectively. It's just personal choice. If you want to use your colour switch, use your colour switch. Right, I still tap off into my colour switch though, because that saves an awful lot of mess. Right, I'm staying with my Royal and Langnickel, and I'm going in with the Chic Pro crease brush, which is a more fluffy one. Now, obviously, if you've had to move your crease line up because you've got hooded eyes, go for something a lot more tapered like this. Okay, this is the Coastal Scents tapered blending brush. There is also a tapered blending brush in the Ranimal or Animal set of brushes, which I've got the link to. That was the set of 12 for about £2.60, I think it was, from AliExpress, and that's linked in my Which Brushes Do I Recommend film. Right, I'm now going to go into Shadow 2, which is the Dove Grey. It's difficult because the only mattes in this palette, and although I'm quite happy to use an all shimmers look, I know a lot of people don't like that, so the only mattes really in this palette are the Dove Grey, the Burgundy, and the Deep Grey. The rest of them are either satins or shimmers. So if you're not comfortable starting off with those colours each time, or doing a shimmer look, this may not be the palette for you. So I'm just tapping this into this corner, overlapping the darker grey just on that corner there, and then giving it a bit of a buff to blend the two colours together. Now, regular viewers know that I do struggle just here and then again just down here to actually get pigment to lay down at these points because of creasing on my eyes. So after I've blended, I will very often go back in and just tap a little bit more pigment back on, just to bring the depth of colour back that I want. Okay? And then I'm going to do that all the way along the darker grey. So pat some pigment on, give it a blend. Pat some pigment on and give it a blend. Because I just want to soften the edge of that grey. And you can see they've actually blended together really nicely, and that gives a much softer look than if you compare the two. It does give a much softer look. Obviously you can deepen up again. If you want the deep impact, you can always pop some of the deep colour through the crease and on the outer V there, which I might do later. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this look here. You know what I'm like, I just pick a palette up and start playing. Alright, so now I'm going to do exactly the same thing on this side. So tap the pigment on, overlapping with the grey, and then give it a buff. Alright, so it's really, really simple. Holding the brushes right at the end, so I'm putting as little pressure on my eyelids as possible. And then once I'm happy with that, just build that pigment just up a little bit more on that corner there, just because of the creasing. Something I do struggle with this size, I've got very, very deep creasing just here, as you can see. So when I do put shimmers on, you will see me actually stretch my lid out slightly, because otherwise the shimmer kind of skims over the deep creasing and ends up falling down my face during the day, which again, not a good look. But obviously if you don't need to pull your eyeball, I mean I don't have to do it with this eye at all, so you will see both techniques, but obviously don't pull your eye about any more than you absolutely have to, because the skin on your eyelids is, think of it like tissue paper. It is the thinnest skin on your body, and obviously the most delicate and easiest to damage, and it also has, I believe, the least collagen in it as well, so it's less likely to kind of bounce back at you when you do sort of abuse. I mean, that creasing was caused when I was 5 years old, with the ophthalmic hospital pulling my eye around, trying to find out why I wasn't seeing out of it properly. And of course, when I was 13, I lost the sight in it totally. So, hey. Made playing rugby interesting, I tell you. But I managed. Right. Okay. I'll give this side a little bit more of a blend just there. Always keep sitting back and sort of checking both eyes, because, as I said, your eyes 9 times out of 10 won't be absolutely symmetrical. So long as they look the same kind of shape and they're taking up the same amount of the eyelid, then, you know, just be happy. Right. I think I am going to go in with, have I got a pointed pencil or crease brush anywhere near? It's not a full-on pencil brush, but there we go. This is, hello, concentrate on the brush, thank you. It's not as stiff as a pencil brush, it still has some movement, but it does let you get really targeted where you put the colour. And I'm actually going to mix colours 7 and 8. I'm going to mix these two together. Dipping first into one and then into the other. And I'm just going to pop this on the outer corner of my eye. You can see mixing that burgundy in with it just warms it up slightly. But obviously with the grey being darker, you are going to see more of the grey than the burgundy. That's absolutely fine. I'm just going to take this down that outer edge there. Give it a little bit of a buff, not too much because I don't want to lose too much of that pigmentation. I like that. And then I'm just going to run that through my crease. Or if you've had to create your own crease, basically just underneath the line that you put down. And I'm really keeping this line quite thin and giving it a very, very gentle buff, because I really want it to sort of recede back into, give the eye some depth. A lot of this is probably going to be covered up in a minute when we cut our crease anyway, but I just like to add that just a little bit of extra depth, because obviously the darker the colour you put on, the further away it looks. The lighter it is, the brighter it sort of brings it forward. So by doing this very, very fine line through here, particularly if you've had to create your own crease, it will give the illusion of the eye receding at that point. and disappearing back, and it just gives the eye that little bit of depth, which, as I said, if you've had to create your own crease, will really help with how the finished result appears. I might add just a little bit more on this corner here. I say corner like my eye has a blooming right angle, but you know what I mean, don't you? That was the fridge clunking. Obviously it's hit its defrost stage. I love auto defrost fridges, but oh lord, they do make you jump when you first get them. Remember when I first started dating my husband and he came over, every time the fridge clonked as it was defrosting, he sort of left that 4 foot in the air. It's quite funny to watch, to be honest. Right, now let me grab one of these, I think. Right, these are, they're actually acrylic nail art brushes, but I love them for cutting the crease because if you squeeze them, you can see they go so thin, and they have a really nice flat part at the top, so they are really fantastic for crease cutting. So I am going to show you how I cut my crease. This will work for pretty much everyone, to be honest. So, nice thick concealer. Pick some up on your brush and just quite roughly initially chuck it on where you want to cut your crease, and then open your eye, blink a few times, and you can see it then shows you exactly how high you need to go to cut your crease. And this is great if you're new at cutting your crease as well. And if you've got hooded lids or deep set eyes like I have, it is awesome because it does show you exactly how much you need to cut out, which is awesome. And then you just go over with your concealer, just pat on it to take off any excess that would mix in with the shadow that we're going to apply. Because I'm particularly slow today, where I'm in a lot of pain, I'm going to do one eye at a time so that I don't end up with the concealer drying out. Okay, this is again just a cheap set from AliExpress, but I liked it because it looks like the Jeffree Star ones but with green on it as well. It's basically a nice flat, quite stiff brush but not too wide, so it lets you get right into this corner here. I am just going to very carefully, and I mean carefully because these nails, hello, just pat over the whole thing. See, it has taken some off. Right, now I'm going to apply these shimmers dry initially to see how well they perform, because the shimmers in the Salou Paris palette actually performed really well dry. So let's see if these do the same. I'm going to start off with shadow number 4, which is a pale blue, like a silvery blue. And I'm going to start off by popping that on the inner part of my eye. You can apply these with your finger if you want. I just prefer not to because of my nails, basically. And also because then you get much more accuracy of where you're placing the shadows. That's actually quite a pretty colour. And then I'm going into shadow number 3, which is a silvery grey next to it. I'm taking that up the middle. I don't know how much difference you can actually see on camera, to be honest, but it does notice in person, in the mirror, put it that way. It's a very dull, overcast day, so kind of relying on my LED lights behind the camera, which might be washing this one out slightly. That's pretty. And then to finish off with, I'm going in with shadow number 9, which is the darker blue, or the brighter blue. I'm just going to pop that on the outer edge. And like I said, all of these shadows have gone on dry. So they've gone on so nicely. And what I'm going to do, I am picking up a wider flat brush from the same family of brushes. I'm just going to very gently buff across where all 3 shades meet, just to try and soften the blend between them. I quite like that. I actually really like that. Do you ever do something and you think, I really don't know how this is going to turn out, and then you do it and you think, actually I really like that? Yeah, that's me most days. Regular viewers know what I'm like. I never really know what I'm doing until I actually start doing it. I just see what calls me on the day. I do usually go, if there's a purple or a blue in the palette, I will normally go for those, because those are the most difficult colours to create, so you know that if they've got those right, you can be pretty sure everything else in the palette's going to be good too. But yeah, not always. Sometimes you'll find I'll just get called by a completely different colour, and these greys really called to me today. I was going to start off with the burgundy, but then I thought, I'm going to have to either blend it out with a grey or a blue shimmer anyway, so I thought I'd do a grey look today. Let's face it, it kind of matches the weather outside, if I'm honest. Just going to check that I've got no areas that are not properly basically covered on this eye. I do really struggle with this eye at times, getting shimmers and glitters and things to stay put. I mean, I can use a glitter glue, which helps. But to be honest, I prefer saving my glitter glue for when I'm wearing glitters. Which I do. So again, just turning the brush over, patting over it to take off any major excess, which you can see it has taken quite a bit off, and then very carefully patting over it once more with my finger, which will take off any final excess, as you can see. Right, let's get into these shimmers, shall we? Right, so into the light blue one first. I went out to about there, didn't I? This is the one where I have trouble with this eye, because with the creasing and everything, I actually have to cover a much almost bigger area when I'm adding this first colour on, as you can see. But otherwise, as I said, the shimmer just sort of skims over the top of the deep creasing and then sort of flakes during the day, which is not the greatest look in the world, let's be honest. And then I'm going into the silver, just adding a little row of that. For some reason it always shows up better on this eye. Weird, eh? Probably because I can close this eye when I'm doing it, actually, that I just notice it more. And then into the deepest or the brightest blue, that outer edge. I mean, you can wet these shimmers if you want, but when they go on like this when they're dry, you really don't need to. Obviously, if you do want to apply them dry, get the pigment on the brush and then wet the brush. Don't go into a pressed palette with a wet brush, because that will give you hard pan. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't mind hard pan, I can just, I can just scrape it off. A, you're wasting product, and B, eventually you will not be able to just scrape it off, because the hard pan will actually permeate the whole of the eyeshadow. So again, just with this clean brush, just buffing the three colours together, just so we've got a nice soft transition. Oh, this is such a pretty look. Right, I am going to pop off of camera now, and I'm going to put some foundation and whatnot on, and I will be back to do the under eye, and then we can see what the finished result is. So, you will see me instantly. I'll see you when I've finished mucking about with foundation. I'm back. Right. I am going to grab my flat topped brush, and I think, how deep do I want to go? That's a very good question. I think I'm going to pick up some of that burgundy that we mixed in to deepen this edge up. I'm just going to pop pop some of this right up close under my lashes. I really hope next door's radio isn't getting picked up. I'll have to try and, in post edit, I'm going to have to try and reduce background noise as much as I can. I always flinch this side because obviously I haven't got any peripheral vision, so I'm trusting my viewfinder and muscle memory not to poke myself in the eye, and it doesn't. As you can tell, it doesn't always work out well. That was fun. And then over here, somewhere. Oh, where's my little dinky brush gone? Oh, I hate when I lose a brush. I might put it back after I washed it. Where is it? Bloody Jeffree Star brushes in the way. Sorry, I'm going to use this one, I think. Right, this is a Spectrum CO6 brush. Super fluffy. And I'm just going to pop that into the deeper blue shimmer that we used. And just very gently run that under the bottom lashes just to soften the edge and add just a little hint of blue to tie it in with what we've got going on up here. Right, I'm going to pause you one last time while I do mascara and lippy and stuff. And actually, no, I need to do my highlight first. I know around my eyes so you can see what I've done. This is a really basic flat top brush that I bought from eBay years ago. I'm just going to pop a little bit of this under the tail end of my brow. Both sides, just to give the illusion of the brow being raised and higher than it is, which apparently gives a youthful effect. And then I'm going to pop some around my tear duct. And with my shape eye, I've found that coming just underneath and joining it to the colour that I've put under the eye is really quite flattering. So that's what I'm doing. Right, now I'm going to pause you and go off screen and do mascara, lippy, bung some more highlight on my cheeks and whatever, sort something out with my hair, and I'll come back for my final thoughts. Well, as you can see, my hair apparently wants to do a Mr. Magica today. For those of you who are not UK viewers, it was a kids' TV show in the 80s and 90s about a magician who had a bit of hair that used to flicker around like this every time he did something magical, and apparently my hair decided it's going to emulate that today. Marvellous. The lippy that I've got on is Jeffree's YSOTP. You're still on the property. I also did the Jeffree Sarcophagus highlighter, if you were wondering. I haven't done my setting spray yet. Let's have a go with my Slay All Day from Gerard in Watermelon. Love this. You see, most people would stop here, but regular viewers, actually old school viewers, because I haven't done this for a while, will know that when I've taken this amount of time and effort to look this good, I want it to stay put. So I continue. And in fact, if I'm going to go really, really, really old school, then I need to but let's not be that extra today, huh? Right, okay, so love that Gerard setting spray, by the way. This for me is probably the best setting spray I've ever used. I like the Urban Decay All Nighter, but if I use that more than 2 or 3 days in a row, it really dries out the perimeter of my face. Slay All Days don't do that. I can use those more than once a day if I need to in the summer. And I've used Slay All Day for I think 3 weeks solid without a single problem. So I'm a Gerard affiliate. I do have a discount code and a link that will take you straight to their site. Because it's affiliated, if you do buy or you use my discount code, I do get a small commission. You know me, I'm always upfront about whether or not I earn money. But you get 30% savings, which that's considerable. You don't have to use my code, there's plenty of GC codes floating around, but there you go. Right, this palette, what do I think? I actually quite like this. I know it's first impressions. As I said, you are limited somewhat because that one, that grey, that dove grey, this burgundy and this deep grey are really the only mattes in here. That's a satin, that's a satin, that's a satin. Those three are shimmers. So there is a risk you're going to end up with quite samey looks each time because of the limited mattes, if you're the kind of person who doesn't like using a shimmer through your crease. Now, you know, I don't care. I break all makeup rules. You know, I'm 44, I'm about 5.5, 6 weeks away from being 45. I still use shimmer in my crease, I still use highlight, I still wear dark lipsticks, I still wear glitter, and you know what? I don't give a monkeys. My face, I like it, you don't like it, you ain't got to look. But, you know, if you are someone who needs a matte to start a look off, you're probably going to end up a little bit restricted by this palette, unless you use another palette alongside it. Let's face it, we've all got neutral palettes. We've all got, you know, stuff like this Revolution one, where you can pull out some of the neutral colours from this to bump up the colour options. So, as a companion palette, fantastic. If you're happy to use shimmers in your crease, fantastic. If you're only prepared to use mattes through your crease, just be aware it will restrict you slightly to the looks you can get. However, that being said, the mattes performed really lovely. There wasn't a huge amount of skipping, there wasn't a great deal, if any, fallout at all that I noticed. I'll probably watch back on HD and see a crap ton of fallout now that I didn't notice, but as I said, I didn't really notice a lot of fallout from it. The shimmers all went on dry and I really like them. Okay, 2 of them were satin and only 1 of them was a shimmer, but you know, you get what I'm saying here. I really like this look. So, do I recommend it? Yeah, if you can get your hands on it. I mean, this was about, I think it was about €6, which works out about £5.30-ish. Or what is that in dollars? Probably about $7, probably-ish. So if you can get your hands on it, then I would definitely recommend it because I thoroughly enjoyed using that today. Right, I'm trying to shorten my films down slightly, which is difficult because I blether for Britain. So instead of doing my usual popping all the things in and going through it individually, you know what I'm going to ask you to do: like, comment, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, ring the bell, choose all notifications, yada yada yada. Once you finish watching me, I've got an awful lot of other tutorials you could watch, including, why not see if you can find the Salou Parry one so you can have a look at a more pastel-y type palette from Essence. My girlies from the Beauty YouTuber Growth Group are, as always, listed in my description box below, and will be delighted to welcome you to their channels. We have a variety of ladies there. It was started by the gorgeous Lulu, who has the most. I am so jealous of her skin. She has got the most amazing coloured skin in the world. It's just. You ladies and gents that have melanin, I am so jealous. Seriously, I am so jealous. I know you have a hell of a lot of issues getting foundations to match, etc., but your skin does look beautiful. Anyway, so the group was started by the lovely Lulu, but all of the girls on there are awesome and definitely deserve a bit of a watch if you haven't seen any of them before. Right, as ever, all that remains for me to say is you'll stay fabulous, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.